They had shut themselves inside the room. It wasn't a safe plan by any measure, but for someone drowning, even a straw feels like salvation. Nick sat pressed against Mark, clinging to him as if letting go would mean certain death. Joseph stood lost in thought, desperately trying to come up with a way out. Harry paced the room, his restlessness betraying his fear. "I wish we had listened to Mom and never come here," Nick whispered, regret clawing at his chest. "We'll never hear her voice again, never see her, never eat the food she made for us. We're going to die, Mark. We're going to die." He broke down like a terrified child. The others felt their hearts twist painfully at the sight. A knock echoed at the door. All four froze, exchanging alarmed glances. The knock came again. "It's her. Don't open the door," Nick said, shrinking further into himself. The others hesitated, caught in the grip of fear. The knocking didn't stop. Suddenly, Joseph stepped forward and opened the door. Zarka stood there, just as she always did, eerily composed. A strange smile curved her lips. "Dinner is served. You should come to the table," she said casually, as if announcing an ordinary routine. A chill ran down their spines. Joseph slammed the door shut in panic. From outside came a chilling, mocking laugh. She was enjoying their terror, savoring every second of it. They stared at one another, eyes wide with dread. She didn't want to kill them outright. She wanted to frighten them to death. No one knew how long they had remained locked inside the room like that. She hadn't returned, but they knew she wouldn't stop. "How long do we keep hiding like this?" Joseph said helplessly. "If she wants to, she can walk right in here and there's nothing we can do." "We can't do anything out there either," Mark replied quietly. "At least in here, we're still alive." Nick lay asleep on the bed, his fever worsening from sheer terror. Mark gently massaged his head. "For now, we get through the night. At dawn, we'll try to escape," Harry suggested. The others nodded silently. There was no better option. It was deep into the night when someone gently shook Nick awake. The lights were still on. It was Harry. "What's wrong?" Nick asked weakly. "The car is fixed. Let's get out of here. Joseph and Mark are waiting outside," Nick whispered. "Really?" Hope flickered in his eyes. "Shh, keep your voice down, or she'll hear," Harry warned. Nick sat up and glanced around. Joseph and Mark weren't in the room. "Come on, hurry," Harry said, stepping outside. Nick followed him. So complete was the spell cast upon Nick that he failed to see Mark sleeping beside him, or Harry and Joseph lying on the carpet. Unaware, he followed Harry's doppelganger, whose lips carried a mysterious smile and whose eyes gleamed unnaturally. Morning had come. Mark slowly opened his eyes. Joseph and Harry lay asleep nearby. How strange it was that, even in such terror, exhaustion had claimed them. He turned to look at Nick. His heart dropped. Nick wasn't there. "Harry! Joseph!" Mark shouted, jumping off the bed. "What happened?" Harry asked groggily. "Nick is gone. We need to find him, now." They rushed downstairs, Mark's heart pounding violently. An awful certainty dragged him toward the room where they had first found Flynn's body. The sight crushed him. Flynn's corpse lay exactly where it had been. Nearby, Nick lay face down in a pool of blood. Joseph and Harry froze in horror. Mark staggered forward and knelt beside his brother. With trembling hands, he turned Nick over. His chest had been torn open. His heart was gone. She had claimed another victim. "Nick, my brother!" Mark cried out in agony, clutching his brother's lifeless body to his chest. Mark's eyes had gone dry from crying. Joseph and Harry were equally speechless. "One of us is next," Mark said hollowly, staring into nothingness. "But why?" Joseph snapped. "Why kill us one by one, always at night? She could have killed us all at once." "You're right," Harry agreed quietly. "Why does she hunt only in the dark and only one at a time?" "Do either of you have an answer?" Mark asked. "No," they replied together. "Then prepare yourselves," Mark said grimly. Your turn is coming." "One thing's clear," Joseph said after a pause. "She only attacks someone who's alone. If we stay together, maybe we stand a chance." "Yes, no matter what happens, we don't separate," Harry agreed. Mark said nothing. The loss of his brother had shattered him beyond words. "While it's still daylight, let's look for an escape together," Joseph suggested. They went downstairs, determined to leave, but the main door wouldn't budge. "It's locked, completely," Joseph said, exhausted after trying with all his strength. "What now?" Harry asked anxiously. "Let's find a window. Break the glass if we have to." But every window was locked. The glass was thick, unbreakable. Defeated, they returned to the room. Morning turned into evening. Hunger and weakness began to creep in. They hadn't eaten since the day before. Harry rummaged through his travel bag. By sheer luck, he found a packet of biscuits. They shared it sparingly. Another day faded away. Night returned, the killer's hour. Who would it be tonight? Mark slept on the bed. Half asleep, he heard someone calling his name. "Mark, Mark." The voice grew clearer. "Mark, my brother." Nick's anguished voice. Forgetting Joseph's warning, never separate, Mark rushed out of the room. Morning came again. Joseph opened his eyes slowly. Harry lay beside him, but Mark was gone. "Harry!" Joseph shook him awake. "Mark is missing!" They ran to the cursed room. Their worst fear had come true. Alongside Flynn and Nick now lay Mark. Joseph felt the strength drain from his legs. He collapsed onto the floor, unable to bear the brutality anymore. Harry approached Mark and turned him over. His chest had been ripped open. His heart was gone. She had claimed her third victim. The silence in the room was suffocating, broken only by the heavy ticking of a clock. Joseph and Harry sat opposite each other on single sofas. Morning turned into night once more. "Tonight, one of us will die," Joseph said solemnly. "And the one who survives tonight will be dead by tomorrow. Our fates are sealed." "Do you see any way out?" Joseph asked. Harry shook his head. Joseph leaned back against the sofa and stared at the ceiling. Life was going just fine, and then everything fell apart in the blink of an eye. A deep sadness weighed on him. I really wish we had never come on this trip." Regret came too late. When Harry didn't respond, Joseph straightened and froze. Harry was gone. "Harry!" he called out, standing up. No answer. "You won't hear him now." Zarka's flat voice echoed through the room. A shiver ran through Joseph's bones. He turned around. Zarka now sat on the sofa where Harry had been, legs crossed, utterly calm. Her cold, deep blue eyes were fixed on him. To be continued.